October 21st, 2020, Local Agency Formation Commission meeting. It is 2:30. We are meeting via teleconference pursuant to the various orders issued by the San Mateo County Health Officer and the Governor's Office, which discourage large public gatherings. The board chambers LAFCo uses for meetings is currently not open to the public for meetings. We are meeting via Zoom. At this point, the clerk will explain how both written comments and spoken public comments can be made by attendees of the meeting.
Thank you, Chairman Cosgrove. For those attending the meeting on the Zoom video conference, we will use the raise hand feature in order to organize any public comments. During the general public period and for each item on the general agenda, I will ask those members of the public who wish to comment to click the raise hand feature to speak on that agenda item. For those joining by phone, you may press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. When you hear your name called, I will prompt you to unmute your microphone and inform you that you may begin speaking. You will have 2 minutes. Please note that members of the public must wait for the prompt in connection with each agenda item before using the raise hand function. For example, you cannot raise your hand during item 3 if you wish to speak for item 5. Written comments that were submitted in advance will be addressed by Martha Payatos. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So we will now move on to item number 1, which is our roll call. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Draper?
Here.
Commissioner Garbarino? Commissioner Horsley? Commissioner Lohman?
Here.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Here.
Vice Chair Slocum?
Here.
Chair Cosgrove?
Here.
And we would like the record to state that Katie Martin, Jim O'Neill, and Harvey Rarbach have joined us as alternate members, and staff is represented by Martha, Rob Bartoli, Timothy Fox, and support from Janeth Lujan. Thank you.
Okay, a question for Martha and probably Tim. With Harvey here and Commissioner Garbarino not, is Harvey now sitting on the commission?
That would make sense to me. Tim?
Yeah, I believe that's correct.
Okay. All right, let the record reflect. Commissioner Rohrbach, you are at the dais, the virtual dais.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, let's move on to item number 2, presentation on adapting to rising tides by San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission staff. Presentation, please.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great. This is Dana Breckwald from BCDC. Just let me get my presentation queued up here. You know what? I had the option to share my screen before and I'm not seeing it now. Am I missing something? There we go. Sorry about that. Okay. So first, I just want to thank you all for having me here today. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some findings that came from our Art Bay Area report that was released in March, which was a region-wide study of vulnerability around the region. And then I'm also going to tell you about our most recent initiative, which is called Bay Adapt, and what that means for the region and how you might be able to get involved. So one thing I don't really need to tell most people here, but that, despite everything else that's occurring, including wildfire and global pandemic, sea level rise is not slowing down. And in fact, it's likely accelerating during this time. We know we've already seen 8 inches of sea level rise in the last century, and we're seeing projections of 12 to 32 inches by 2050. By the end of this century, we could see over 10 feet of sea level rise. And coming up to winter here, we're reminded that with heavy rain and our recent king tide events of the risks that are posed by sea level rise, we're feeling them already. It's also worth noting that while sea level rise is a California-wide coastal issue, it will most likely be felt most acutely here in the Bay, and San Mateo County has oceanside sea level rise impacts as well. But I'm going to be talking today about our Bay impacts. So this is a screenshot from our Bay Shoreline Flood Explorer that shows the level of inundation that we're looking at 48 inches. So you can see here, this doesn't account for projects that may be under construction right now or in the planning phases. So don't be alarmed if you see things that appear to flood here that you think shouldn't. But it just goes to show that along the shoreline, there's a lot of sensitive ecosystems and shoreline that may be inundated if we don't do anything about it. Also just want to give an overview of the qualitative impacts that we may be seeing. This is the same along the same timeline, 48 inches, which is anywhere from 40 to 100 years by now, from now. But we may be seeing, just in San Mateo County alone, that 1.5 million daily highway vehicle trips could not occur because the highways that they would be using are flooded. Portions of the highways are flooded. Potentially 33,000 daily rail commuters may not be able to access the stations that they are typically used to commute to work. This is assuming there's no global pandemic, of course. We're looking at potentially 7,800 socially vulnerable residents who are at risk of flooding in their homes. And then looking at jobs and housing, we could potentially see 1,400 existing housing units that exist today could be flooded, as well as around 5,000 new planned housing units in priority development areas. In terms of jobs, we're looking at over 17,000 existing jobs that may be flooded, as well as over 5,000 new planned jobs. And then lastly, in San Mateo County, there's some beautiful shoreline ecosystems that could also be flooded, up to over 1,000 acres of depressional wetlands, lagoon, and tidal marsh habitat. So as you know, and as San Mateo does especially well, adapting to rising sea levels will need to happen primarily at the local level, whether it's changing land uses, reconstructing roads and infrastructure, or building up wetlands. And there's already a lot of work that's happening around the Bay Area today. And from my view, San Mateo County in many ways is way ahead of the game. But we also know that local only adaptation is really not enough. We live in a really highly networked region where our bay is interconnected, our infrastructure is interconnected, and impacts in one area will have cascading effects throughout the region. So if everyone acts individually rather than collectively, we may see things like disproportionate impacts to vulnerable communities who have fewer financial and political resources, unintended flood impacts to neighbors in a closed-bay system. There are no requirements currently in place that mandate cross-jurisdictional coordination, although again, San Mateo County is really ahead of the game in that sense. And I think it's really obvious right now that there are other more immediate concerns that could take precedent. We're seeing an unprecedented wildfire season. We have public health issues going on. There's been a housing crisis going on for many years now. It's a new crisis every day. Yet sea level rise is linked to and may exacerbate many of these challenges. We could also see near-term loss of wetlands. Our ecosystems are really most at risk of flooding, and they're on the front lines of what we're facing. And finally, there's really no way to see how all of these individual actions are adding up. So San Mateo, say, does a fantastic job. They protect their shoreline, they work together. But if the rest of the region is not doing the same thing, then obviously impacts will still be felt by residents of San Mateo County. So the good news, as I mentioned, is we're not starting from scratch, not by a long shot. There are several reports, assessments, there's a lot of science available out there. We have no shortage of studies and a lot to build on. And I hope you notice here that the San Mateo County Sea Level Rise Vulnerability Assessment is right there featured in the front. So this leads me to our initiative that we're working on now, which is Bay Adapt. And we really developed this project because while we have widespread agreement on the challenges that we're facing, there's really no clear agreement on the solutions, and there's no one agency or group that's responsible for solving this problem. So BCDC, together with a group of Bay Area leaders from other regional agencies, NGOs, and local governments, have come together to develop Bay Adapt. Bay Adapt is a short-term initiative to develop and adopt a regional consensus-driven strategy that lays out the necessary actions to adapt the Bay Area to rising sea level and protect people and the natural and built environment. So our role in this project is really to lead a dialogue and not dictate the final word, which is why we are out talking to a lot of people, including you all. So the Bay Adapt strategy is composed of 3 elements. The first is a set of guiding principles that clearly and concisely articulate the shared beliefs and values that should guide our regional adaptation decisions. This is really the compass that we've been using over the 9-month process that was developed by our leadership advisory group. Our joint platform, which is the top 10 to 15 priority actions that the region must take. This really lays out a roadmap of detailed proposals describing the who, what, why, when, and where of where we need to go to adapt to sea level rise. And then most importantly, number 3 is our commitment to act together and to implement the joint platform through the respective roles and authorities engaged with the leadership advisory group and our working groups. So how do we get there? The first thing is to start with engaging as many people as we can. This is a regional effort, so there's a lot of people that need to be a part of the conversation. We've established our leadership advisory group made up of 30 executive level leaders who are critical to the success of the joint platform. I also want to point out here that we know that frontline communities are the ones most vulnerable to climate change, yet maybe least equipped to do something about it. So we've coordinated a group that we are calling our EJ Caucus, which are highlighted here, representatives from community-based organizations that have helped us to really vet the materials that we are working on and guide us in a process that is more equitable. So this is a preview of our guiding principles. I will also mention all of this is available on our website if you'd like to look at it in more detail. So our guiding principles include things like practicing inclusive governance and decision-making, centering and supporting socially vulnerable communities, looking at green infrastructure first where it's appropriate, making sure that we're not holding back early movers like San Mateo County, but also ensuring that we're kind of getting everybody pointing in the right direction for the long term, and recognizing that not all places or pathways to adaptation are the same throughout the region. So going down on the left here on how we've developed the joint platform, I mentioned the leadership advisory group. We also have had one public forum so far. We are planning another one in November. And then this third bullet here is our working groups. And our working groups have really been put in on many, many hours to help us identify what the actions should be. Our working group meetings have met several times. We started out working in these 3 scales: regional consistency, local planning, and project implementation. We're now sort of at the outer edge of this blue box. Maybe we're in the arrows right now, where I have already identified hundreds of barriers, concerns, and solutions to sea level rise. And we have refined them into 15 actions at this point, and we are just getting ready to release our very first public draft of this. So we will be previewing it with our leadership advisory group next week, and then making it available publicly after that. So these actions that we're working on right now together comprise the joint platform. And then, as I mentioned before, we'll be asking leaders around the region to sign on and commit to implementing it. So this is just a preview of what the emerging actions are. They're not perfect. It's really drafty at this point. We're going to be asking our leadership advisory group if this is the right suite of actions, if we want to prioritize any of these, but I can share with you sort of the high level topics that are coming out of this. One of the things that came out of all of our groups was the importance of meaningful involvement and prioritization of vulnerable communities. So this includes ideas such as increasing community voices in adaptation decision-making and providing transparent education to the community and removing barriers to allow the community to then go back and educate government as well. Also looking quite a bit at how local planning and regional planning intersects. So establishing a long-term vision for the region and what we're calling a consistency framework, which is sort of guidelines or bumpers on either side of how we think people should be thinking about local planning. And then finding some means of incentivizing local plans that do fit within this framework, whether it's through funding or some other sort of carrot. We're also looking at how the permitting environment is helping or hindering sea level rise adaptation and how we could help improve that process. We're also looking at how the region comes together to fund all of this work. So the idea of a regional funding plan, which lays out all of the costs as a region and how we would then acquire all of those resources and how those costs would be shared by the different partners. And then very tightly linked to that is the idea of a regional working group that works on a shared legislative agenda so that we are coordinated in our asks. We are also looking a lot about technical assistance and regional databases. So we have an idea of a one-stop shop for data and science, as well as for guidance on how to use this. And then lastly, we're looking at how to streamline the local planning process to make sure that adaptation is integrated throughout all local plans, how we look at local governance. So we're actually looking at San Mateo County quite a bit as you are leaders in how to pull a number of disparate agencies together to address it head on. And then lastly, looking at how we accelerate the implementation of large-scale multi-benefit projects through stakeholder groups. It's a lot of content. There's much more there. I went through it very fast. So hopefully all of you can take some time when we make this draft public to look at it in a more thoughtful manner. Here is the timeline of where we are in this project. We are just about to have our next leadership advisory group, which is that sort of blue circle with the heads inside of it. As I mentioned, we're really just at the point where we're releasing our very first draft of this. We are going to be launching into a 2-month phase where we will be doing much more outreach, similar to what we're doing here. Telling people about this, having our next public forum, which will be in November, and then taking all of the public input that we hear and working it into the final joint platform, which we are hoping to activate in early 2021. We're also working fairly closely with MTC and Plan Bay Area to align this with their Plan Bay Area implementation plan so that we're all sort of working towards the same thing. I also just wanted to mention some tools that the art program also has that San Mateo County many people in San Mateo County that we work with are already using these tools, but may be of interest to you. The first one is our Art Bay Shoreline Flood Explorer, which I showed you the snapshot of earlier. Since its launch, it has showed flooding, but we just recently updated it to show our consequence indicators that we developed through Art Bay Area. So if you go on the Flood Explorer and click on the consequence tab, you can see that data like I showed you. You can click on a certain portion of freeway, for example, and see how many daily vehicle trips may be impacted on that portion of freeway at any given water level. And we also have our Art Bay Area report, which I mentioned, which came out in March. And though it is over 700 pages, there is a short report that helps to summarize the impacts there. And then we have a number of smaller sections focused by operational landscape unit that provide a little bit of a deep dive into a number of focus areas, including several in San Mateo County. So please visit the website at bayadapt.org if you are interested in learning more about what's going on, who is on our leadership advisory group, what our guiding principles are. We will be posting a version of the joint platform to the website for public comment coming up here soon. And then you can also sign up to receive our newsletter, and that will give you more information about things like our public comment period, our public forums, and the progress that we're making. So that is what I have for you today.
Thank you very much, Dana. So we will now open the public comment period for this item, item number 2, the presentation on adapting to rising tides by San Francisco Bay Conservation and Development Commission. Ms. Montes, do we have any public comments?
Thank you, Chairman Cosgrove, and thank you, Dana, for your presentation. As a reminder, if you are calling by phone, you may press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. And I do not have any buddy from the public that wishes to speak at the moment, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So we will now close the public comment for item 2. And now I'm going to go to questions, comments, or concerns from the commissioners. And just a reminder, to keep order, I'll go alphabetically through the commissioners. So Commissioner Draper.
Thank you. I don't know if it's who I'm addressing this to, but perhaps our staff is, how can LAFCo help foster adaptation in this, because it seems like a long-term strategy. Where are we in this strategy?
Yes, through the chair, I would say that the probably the most direct role LAFCo has is in our municipal service reviews of the cities and districts that are affected by sea level rise, to assess how they are planning for it and whether or not they're participating in the regional programs. And then the other that's a little simpler is we could actually have a link to the BCDC website and have this topic kind of front and center on our homepage.
So in the municipal reviews, are you suggesting that we should have a series of questions to see how have they taken it, how each entity's taken it into consideration, and what are their plans for this?
Yes, in particular when it comes to the infrastructure impacts and just how also land use would be affected.
Thank you.
Okay, any more questions or comments, Commissioner Draper?
No, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Okay, Commissioner Lohman.
Yes, a couple of quick comments. Just for the record, I'm a co-sider. I attended several of Supervisor Pine's presentations on this San Mateo County proposals for looking at all of San Mateo County. They, in those presentations, listed several major projects of concern on the coast over here. Two obvious ones is our joint powers sewer plant sits at about 8 feet with major components way underground. Rising water tables would take out the entire plant. And also Highway 1 is every day under attack by the ocean. If the coast loses Highway 1, that's pretty much it. I'm a little concerned, again, on another Bay project where money and taxation will go to all the Bay side. And if that drains San Mateo's resources, there may not be much left for the coast again. So I'm, again, a little concerned. I understand this is a Bay project, but if San Mateo County is a major contributor to this, I'd like to see some of the critical things on the coast included also. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Lohman. And now Commissioner O'Neill.
Hi, yeah, I'm also from the coast. I'm in the city of Pacifica. And we've probably been impacted more than most places on the coast in San Mateo County. I mean, we've had the apartment buildings have to be torn down. The Coastal Commission is questioning whether or not we can have a seawall to protect maybe 3,000 to 4,000 homes. And I really like your comment of having some local control, but having it looked at a regional basis. The League of Cities really has not helped us very much at all, but it's just, I don't know if you have any pull at the Coastal Commission, but to see some sort of collaboration with the Coastal Commission, that there needs to be some sort of local control to adapt. I mean, yeah, down, southern San Mateo County, there is no development on the coast, so managed retreat is a viable option. But when we have houses 40 feet from the ocean, managed retreat really isn't a viable option unless you want to start eliminating the affordable housing in Pacifica and, several millions and millions of dollars of people's homes. So I do like your idea of some local control, but with a regional, I realize it's a regional issue, but I also want to echo Commissioner Lohman's comments that the coast, Pacifica is the 5th or 6th largest city in the county. And the coast does seem to be the stepchild of San Mateo County in many instances. So that's my thought. Thank you.
I will mention that the Coastal Commission is on our leadership advisory group, and we do work with them on a regular basis. But as you can probably understand, it's complex to align all of these agencies, and we're just trying to facilitate this conversation with all the stakeholders that we need to. But yes, I definitely hear your points, and thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Rarbach.
Hi, I just want to put in a plug for the newly created Flood and Sea Level Rise Resiliency Committee that San Mateo County has created. That I think will be concerned not only with the Bay, but also the coast. And they're looking for funding. They're looking for how we can act as a region, so that I would love that BCDC interact more with this new organization. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And we do have leadership and staff from that district that are participating both in Art Bay area and in Bay Adapt. So we are very happy with the relationship, the back and forth relationship we have with that agency.
Great.
Okay. Did you have more, Commissioner Rarbach?
No, that's it. Thanks.
Nope, thank you. Vice Chair Slocum.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. It was educational for those of us that don't follow sea level rise each and every single day. So thank you for that. I had a question. While you were talking, I was looking on your website at the leadership group, and I noticed that David Pine, Supervisor Pine, and Julio Garcia, and maybe a couple of others from San Mateo were on the leadership council. But I'm just wondering, does Supervisor Pine, do you happen to know if Supervisor Pine's term is coming up, or is he locked in for a couple of years?
Is that a question on the leadership advisory group or his elected office?
No,
no, our leadership advisory group is not contingent upon holding office. So he's there
for life. Good. Okay.
Until this turns into something else.
Okay, thank you for that. I don't have anything further, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. And I do appreciate many of the comments, especially by my fellow coast-siders. We do face a lot of issues with sea level rise as well. So thank you for the presentation. Thank you for continuing to work on this.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, so with that, we will move on to item number 3, which is the consent agenda. And our clerk will now read items on the consent agenda.
Thank you, Chairman Cosgrove. Item A, approval of action minutes for August 19, 2020 meeting. Item B, LAFCo file number 20-07, proposed annexation of 60 Valencia Court, Portola Valley, APN 079-122-170 to West Bay Sanitary District. Thank you.
Okay, I will now entertain a motion for item 3, the consent agenda.
I move that we approve the consent agenda as stated.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner O'Neill and a second by Commissioner, was that Commissioner Draper that came in next? Okay, thank you. And we will now proceed with the roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Draper?
Yes.
Commissioner Barback?
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Yes.
Vice Chair Slocum?
Yes.
Chair Cosgrove?
Yes, so that item passes unanimously. Thank you. So we'll now move on to item 4, which is public comments for items not on the agenda. Ms. Montez, did we receive any written comments or do we have any hands raised?
Thank you, Chairman Cosgrove. So we did not receive any written comments for item number 4. And at the moment, I do not see any hands raised for item number 4 as well.
Okay. Thank you very much. I do not see any either. So with that, I will close public comment for items not on the agenda, and we will move on to item number 5, which is consideration of revisions to the adopted 2020-2021 LAFCo budget. Staff report, please.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Cosgrove and Commissioners. You received a staff report dated October 12th that was also sent to the county, the cities, and the independent special districts and posted on the LAFCo website. Government Code Section 56381 requires that LAFCo adopt a draft budget by May 1 and a final budget by June 15th. And then in addition, because the budget is adopted prior to the end of the fiscal year, each year the Commission considers budget amendments to reflect the actual year-end fund balance. And I should note that the Commission contracts with the county for staff as part of the contract, and the Commission uses the county's budget system to maintain the budget. Commission expenditures include salary and benefits for staff of 2.5 full-time positions, services and supplies and service charges for county council rent and related services. Revenues include application fees, miscellaneous revenues such as the LAFCo stipend for my participation at the LAFCo board, and then intergovernmental revenue from the county, cities, and independent special districts. Section 56381 also sets forth a funding formula in which the Commission's net operating budget, which is expenditures less revenues, is funded in thirds by the county, the 20 cities, and the 21 independent special districts. This table on the slide now illustrates the appropriations, net operating budget, and 1/3 apportionment for the 1920 fiscal year, and the draft and proposed final and recommended revised for 2021. The changes in the recommended October revision reflect a corrected fund balance provided by the Controller's Office. Other changes include the reserve has been adjusted to reflect the adjusted fund balance carryover, and the county council was increased from $20,000 to $30,000 based on projected workload. And then there was a reduction of $9,093 to each of the 1/3 apportionments from the June adopted amount of $190,572 for a revised amount of $181,479. And with the next slide, I have the recommendation to you is that you open the public hearing, receive public comment, and by resolution adopt the recommended revised 2021 appropriations budget of $728,840 with any desired amendments. The revised budget would then be transmitted to the county, the cities, and the independent special districts, and to the county controller's office to bill the various agencies based on a formula that is set forth in the government code. And that concludes my report. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. We will now open the public comment for item number 5, consideration of revisions to the adopted 2020-2021 LAFCO budget. Ms. Montez, do we have any public comments?
Thank you, Chairman. We did not receive any written comments for item 5. And as a reminder, if you are calling by phone, you may press *9 to indicate your desire to speak on this item. And we do not have any hands raised, Chair.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will now call on each commissioner for any questions, comments, or concerns. And we will start with Commissioner Draper.
I have none, thank you.
All right, thank you. And now Commissioner Lohman.
Also, I'm glad we're finally getting to the end of this. It's been a long road. It's been a great process, and all the information has been well presented, I think. I have no additional comments now.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner O'Neill.
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Rarbach.
I'm okay.
Thank you. Vice Chair Slocum.
Well, no, I have no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I do not either. So I will now entertain a motion for item 5, consideration of revisions to the adopted 2020-2021 LAFCo budget.
I move that we approve item 5 as stated.
Second. Slocum.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Commissioner O'Neill and a second by Vice Chair Slocum. And let us now proceed to a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Draper.
Yes.
Commissioner Rarbach.
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Vice Chair Slocum.
Yes, thank you.
Chair Cosgrove.
Yes. So that item passes unanimously, and we will move on to item number 6, which is consideration of a resolution authorizing an agreement with the County of San Mateo for staffing, legal counsel, office space, and supplies for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Staff report, please.
Yes, just very briefly, you received a report dated October 14th. This item is associated with your budget. As the commission contracts with the county for staffing, offices, and services, each year the commission executes an agreement with the county that reflects the budgeted amount of these services. The contract amount for 2021 is $659,973, and it differs from the appropriations budget because it does not include the reserve, nor does it include outside auditing services. And as a not to exceed amount, in any savings in services contributes to the fund balance carryover for the next fiscal year. And so my recommendation is that the commission by resolution authorize the chair to execute an agreement with the County of San Mateo in the amount of $659,973 for the 2021 fiscal year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll now open the public comment for item 6, which is consideration of a resolution authorizing an agreement with the County of San Mateo for staffing, legal counsel, office space, and supplies for the 2021 fiscal year. Ms. Montez, do we have any public comments for this item?
Thank you, Chairman Cosgrove. We did not receive any written comments for item 6. And I do not see any hands raised.
All right, I heard a dog barking though. I don't know, does that count as something? Thank you. We will now close public comment for item 6, and I will call on each commissioner for any comments, questions, or concerns. Commissioner Draper.
I have none, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lohman.
Nothing new, thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Neill.
I have none.
Commissioner Rarbach.
I also have none.
Vice Chair Slocum.
No further questions. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I do not have any either. So I will entertain a motion for item 6. I'm not going to read that out again. Anybody?
I move that the commission approve item number 6 as stated.
Second.
Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner O'Neill and a second by Commissioner Draper. We will now proceed with the roll call vote.
Commissioner Draper.
Yes.
Commissioner Rarbach.
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman.
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill.
Yes.
Vice Chair Slocum.
Yes.
Chair Cosgrove.
Yes, so that item passes unanimously and is so ordered. Let us move to item 7, Consideration of San Mateo Resource Conservation District Municipal Service Review. Staff report, please.
Thank you. Rob's going to be presenting the municipal service review, but I wanted to make some comments. You do have a staff report dated October 14th that includes the municipal service review and recommendations and recommended determinations, and the comments and responses to the comments that were received. This is the second municipal service review for the RCD, with the first one being prepared in 2006. As detailed in the report, since the 2006 municipal service review, the district has grown significantly in size and scope of services. And on the next slide, we can see a map of the district's boundaries. And you can see that the district is located primarily in the coastal and western portions of the county, and that Rob will be addressing some of the excluded areas. There are some islands that are not included in district boundaries. Before Rob presents, I wanted to emphasize and kind of frame the context in which LAFCo prepares municipal service reviews. The areas of determination found in section 56430 are codified and require LAFCo to look at areas of administration, governance, and operation that seem secondary to the core mission of the agency. Many of the comments we've received express concern about some of these areas of concern in the comments and the recommendations made by LAFCo, and we did our best to respond to those comments. And so the municipal service review is really a tool that assists the district and agencies that also work with the district and the public to better understand service delivery, administration, and accountability and governance. And in this case, with the district having excluded areas, it's also an opportunity to inform the sphere of influence study and to look at what changes might be made to the sphere of influence in the boundaries of the district to make the district more whole and more fiscally viable. And with that, I'd like to turn it over to Rob to present the RCD Municipal Service Review.
Thank you, Martha. Thank you, Chair. Just looking at the map for a brief moment, the original boundaries of the San Mateo Resource Conservation District encompassed agricultural land in the northern portion of San Mateo County. The coastal area, less the publicly owned lands and developed areas, were added to the district boundaries in subsequent annexations in 1942 and 1946. And then in 1954, several subdivisions were detached actually from the district in that mid-coast area. Currently, the district boundaries have several excluded pockets, as you can see from the map, within the developed areas of the city of Pacifica, the unincorporated mid-coast, communities of El Granada, Moss Beach, Montero, and portions of the city of Half Moon Bay. The currently adopted sphere of influence for the district is coterminous with the district boundaries. This is this item is for the final review of the municipal service review. We saw the curriculum, the circulation draft a couple months ago, but for a brief overview of what the district does, San Mateo Resource Conservation District collaborates with landowners and managers, technical advisors, and local jurisdictions to protect, conserve, and restore natural resources in San Mateo County. The description of district activities and projects is covered later in the report, and extensive in areas about wildfire and sea level rise mitigation, and natural habitat restoration, and many other areas of natural resources within the county. There's also an attachment to this report that goes into depth about what those activities are. The district is unique for special districts as it operates more similar to a nonprofit organization in ways, specifically around finance. It's primarily funded through grants and contracts for projects and less dependent on either fees for services or on property tax. Many of these services and projects are driven by the availability of funding. Staff has prepared this MSR. Through this process, we've met with district staff, have worked with them closely, requesting data and documents for both the administrative draft and the circulation draft. And we'll talk briefly about the responses to those and to the required determinations for the MSR. So within the MSR itself, there are several determinations, 7 areas of determination, including local policy as set forth by Cortese Knox, Hertzberg, and those areas include growth in population, capacity, for service and facilities, the fiscal ability of the district to provide service, opportunities for shared services, accountability for the community needs and transparency, and then the 2 locally adopted policies that San Mateo LAFCo has, water resiliency and climate change, and the impact of natural hazards and mitigation planning. And I'll just briefly touch on those areas and those recommendations and the findings of areas of determination within the MSR. So as I mentioned, the district provides a number of conservation services with limited amount of funding and staffing. Again, this is heavily grant dependent on funding for services. LAFCo has no concerns regarding the district's capacity to provide these services or the adequacy of them. And then several of the letters that LAFCo has received as part of the circulation process were submitted to LAFCo, attesting of the value of these services and programs that were provided by the district. And it was noted that San Mateo Resource Conservation District has been recognized as a statewide leader in the resource conservation services. Because there are a number of efforts that RCD is involved, one of the recommendations as part of this determination that staff has is completing an annual report and any kind of related documents that would allow interested parties to better understand the types of projects the district undertakes, and that the district is aware of this, and this is something they would like to continue to do, provided that there's funding. And we'll talk about potential ways to look at those funding opportunities. Another part to include as transparency would be to have a budget narrative that would allow members of the public to view how those funds are brought into the district and then spent. And if there are opportunities then for administrative services that are not necessarily grant dependent, and how there can be funding set aside for that staff person or staff people to provide those important administrative functions. Due to the potential financial impacts to all agencies due to COVID-19 and the shelter in place, the district should continue to explore shared services and additional revenue opportunities as it sees. You know, it's a situation that the RCD has explored before. We recommend certainly looking into it again due to those impacts of the financial situation of many districts and agencies that we're in now. Because of these unique times, there might be opportunities that were not available as the last time that shared services were explored. Regarding impacts or regarding water resiliency and climate change, the RCD is engaged in a number of projects to support water resiliency, climate change, and natural hazard mitigation. And the majority of these projects that RCD undertakes has multiple benefits within both the natural and built environments. And as mentioned in many of the comment letters from RCD, from CAL FIRE, from Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space, NOAA, the National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration, San Mateo County Parks, NRCS, the Natural Resource Conservation Service, Peninsula Open Space Trust. These districts and agencies work very closely with RCD on a number of projects, and we're very happy to partner with them through longstanding working relationships. And there's even recently been another project that RCD will be working on regarding the wildfires in the southern part of San Mateo County that the district will be partnering with to complete. I touched on most of the letters from public comments from the agencies. Again, for the comments from the RCD regarding the circulation MSR, they were mainly in response to the recommendations that were in the circulation draft and the shared services opportunities that they have already worked on and trying to work on further. The use of San Mateo County contributions toward their funding, and the limited amount of property tax the district receives. And that is through the limited amount of developed property that's within the district boundaries. And that's also due to parcels that are within the boundaries, but have tax either exemptions or the property values are not assessed at their full amount due to either Williamson Act contracts for ag uses, either open space preserve contracts or because they're timberland, so they're taxed at different rates. For the 3 letters from residents, emphasize the importance of projects that RCD works on, and the MSRs focus kind of on the areas that are required by Cortese, Knox, Hertzberg that make the required determinations. So that was just a very brief overview of a report that's about 40 pages or so, but that highlighted the determinations that that the LAFCo staff has made for the RCT district. And with that, staff recommends opening the public hearing and accepting public comments, accept the final municipal service review for San Mateo Resource Conservation District, adopt the municipal service review determinations and recommendations contained within the report, and direct staff to set a hearing on November 18th, 2020 for consideration of the sphere of influence for the San Mateo Resource Conservation District. And at that meeting on November 18th, staff will bring forward a separate item for their sphere of influence and focusing on areas that could be included in their sphere. Currently, as I had mentioned, the sphere of influence for the district is coterminous with the district boundaries, but staff will be looking at areas that are impacted by projects that RCD undertakes that may be worthwhile including within the existing sphere of influence or the proposed sphere of influence for the district. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to open the public comment for item 7, consideration of San Mateo Resource Conservation District Municipal Service Review. But I do want to note that the general manager, I believe, of the district is in attendance right now. And I don't know if she has a presentation or would like to say something before we okay, I see a hand raised.
Yeah.
Go ahead, please.
Thank you. Thank you to the commissioners and to staff. I'm thrilled to be able to see our district being reviewed. I've been looking forward to this for years. I don't know how many people say that, but we feel at the Resource Conservation District that we're one of the best kept secrets and examples of good local government, and we'd like to be less well kept. We are passionate about delivering our mission, and we strive to be relevant, excellent, and visible. And this review helps us with the last 2. We're an unusual form of government in that we do not have a mandate for a specific type of service or a specific outcome, and we have no regulatory authorities. We meet community needs by helping people help the land through extraordinarily diverse means. We are constrained only by our business model. That limits our operating base funding to about $60,000 or $70,000 per year for all of the services that we provide. We're grateful for this review, which helps to describe some of our current programs and benefits to the community that we serve, and I think speaks to how resourceful and frankly scrappy we have been in bringing efficiencies and services and grant funds to the constituents of San Mateo County. The RCD appreciates the recognition in this report of the extensive services and benefits that we bring to areas within our district that pay limited or no property taxes, as well as lands that are beyond our boundaries. I wanted to just quickly note some of the major themes in our own comment letter, not only about those limited operating revenues and the fact that this funding is severely restricted in different ways, but specifically that for fiscal year 2020, the RCD leveraged more than $144 for each dollar of property taxes that supported the organization. That's money that we brought into the county, with over 90% of those funds directed to project realization and less than 10% for funding operations and administration. I think that some of the things that we would like to improve upon are also the other side of that coin is quite how efficient. This is an example of leanness and efficiency. We are very focused on delivering high priority, high quality services that are effective and directly responsive to community needs. We're very broad in our thinking about partnership, and we consider LAFCo staff and LAFCo commissioners to be among those partners. So we welcome your feedback and your recommendations for how we can be great. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So our public comment period is open right now. Ms. Montes, do we have any public comment for item 7?
Thank you, Chairman Cosgrove. And for item 7, we did not receive any written comments. And as a reminder, you can press *9 if you are calling in by phone. But at the moment, we do not have any hands raised.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will now close the public comment period for item 7. I'm going to call on each commissioner for questions, comments, or concerns. Commissioner Draper.
Thank you. My comment is I'm so pleased that the RCD is here and makes such a contribution to our county because it's something that we value in the county. So thank you. That's my comment.
Thank you very much. Commissioner Lohman?
Yes, first I'd like to say I got absolutely nothing but praise to give to the RCD out here on the coast. Our special districts are 2 of the contributors and on several of the projects out here in the coast that directly affect water quality on our coast. And we're always happy to do those. I have my own slight confusion on the sphere of influence questions, which I always do. Maybe those will just be addressed in November. Because we seem to have overlapping spheres of influence here all the time. Does the RCD sphere of influence relate to resource conservation issues on all projects in the region? Is that what it means? Or should that be brought up at the potential November 11th meeting?
That will be addressed in detail in the November meeting. But the sphere is the plan for the service area of the district and looking critically right now at what the boundaries are. And we already know that there are areas that should be included, in particular, some of those islands that were excluded over time.
Yeah. What I'm hoping is that for major projects and developments that are occurring here on the coast now, up and down, that the RCD will be included as a participant and commenter on all these projects that are, potentially coming to the coast now. Okay, that's it. And thanks to Kellex for showing up tonight. They're doing a great job.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Lohman. Commissioner O'Neill.
Nope, I have no comments, but I echo in terms of what they do for the county from my other commissioners. So thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Rohrbach.
I also have nothing but praise for the RCD. And I just want to say that when we had the wildfires in the south part of the county, RCD just jumped in without any paperwork or bureaucracy, just helping out on dealing with the immediate problem of dealing with those wildfires. So that's an example of government that really works. So I really think that they've done a great job. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Vice Chair Slocum.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the comments of fellow commissioners. And I know if the Supervisor Horsley were with us today, that he would tell you how much he believes in the district and how much he believes in Kellex's leadership. And she was recently at a board meeting, and I think the entire board shares the supervisor's perspective. So just would say, keep up the good work. It's refreshing to hear that you consider the review a chance to improve services for the people. And I appreciate your frankness and your leadership. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I don't have any questions, and I just want to echo a lot of what I heard. Thank you for the hard work you're doing and what the district is doing. Thank you for that great presentation also.
Thank you. May I, Chair Cosgrove, may I just take one moment? I think that Martha Paratos is often behind the scenes and is an unsung hero. And I want to just note that when I started at the RCD and I was the only person on staff, she held my hand and basically taught me what a special district is, helped me access county resources and build an organization that can provide the services that it does. And I just want to give a little bit of acknowledgement to her about that.
Thank you.
Alex.
Yep, thank you very much. So I will now entertain a motion for item 7, consideration of San Mateo Resource Conservation District Municipal Service Review.
I move that we approve items number 7 with including the 4 recommendations.
Second.
Okay, who is the second? I didn't catch that.
I'll back out again.
Okay. So the second was?
Yeah, Harvey Rohrbeck did it.
All right, thank you very much. So we have a motion by Commissioner O'Neill and a second by Commissioner Rohrbeck, and we will now proceed with a roll call vote.
Commissioner Draper?
Yes, approval.
Commissioner Rohrbeck?
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Yes.
Vice Chair Slocum?
Yes.
Chair Cosgrove?
Yes, so that item passes unanimously and is so ordered. Thank you all very much. So let's move on to item number 8, which is consideration of adoption of update of procedures for the evaluation of proposals. Staff report, please.
Yes, thank you. Rob's going to be presenting this report, but I did want to acknowledge his heavy lifting that he did on the RCD report. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha, and thank you, Chair. Regarding item 8, there is in your agenda packet, you should have received a written report dated October 14th for the update of the adoption for procedures and evaluations of proposals. This is coming back to you as you reviewed the draft item a couple of months ago at our last meeting. The procedures and evaluation proposal is intended to provide detailed information about the procedures for applications to LAFCo and the evaluations of those applications by the commission and staff. There's a summary of the changes that were proposed by staff. Staff is recommending utilizing an expanding definition of environmental justice that is found elsewhere in state government regulations. That includes some clarifying language about broader considerations for environmental justice. We referencing code sections as footnotes instead of in text, so minor changes to the actual text itself. The addition of definitions and terms that are used within the section instead of having a standalone definition section. The addition of section 5666.8.3, which specifies for when a proposed change of organization or reorg includes a city detachment or district annexation and general formatting and number changes. After the previous meeting, staff sent this letter out for review and comments for the policy to cities, special districts, the county, and any other interested parties. There was one comment letter that was received from the city of Pacifica. The city's letter focused on clarifying differences between the draft document and the adopted language of the act, along with minor cleanup language. In most cases, sections of the draft were revised in response to the comment letter to use the exact language from the act instead of paraphrasing sections. LAFCo agreed with the use of the language from the act as it provides better cohesion between the government code and any LAFCo procedures. Those changes in response to the city's comment letter are shown in yellow in the draft document. The only comment that was not incorporated from the city's letter was related to the posting of notifications of proposals at the physical location. And the reason for that is staff may find it difficult in order to actually meet that requirement in many cases. When notification is required under the act, it states that it can be published near the hearing room for where the meeting will actually be held, published in a local newspaper, and then mailed to the affected agencies, property owners, and voters in the proposed area, along with property owners and voters within 300 feet of the proposed area, and anyone else requesting information and requesting notice. Posting near the proposal area may be challenging in staff's mind, especially if it's an inhabited annexation or inhabited proposal. It may be impractical as an annexation site might be too large, such as the Mid-Peninsula Open Space annexation of over 150,000 acres on the coast, or it may be difficult to gain access to in some cases and not accessible to the public. The addition of the notice at the site may also expose LAFCo to legal action if the notification is not properly posted at the site or if members of the public feel the posting is inadequate. Staff feels that the Act provides sufficient opportunity to receive and review notices, and staff recommends adhering to the adopted state regulations regarding noticing. But with that, I conclude my report and recommend by motion that the commission adopt the update to the procedures of the evaluations of proposals, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now open the public comment period for item 8, consideration of adoption of updated procedures for the evaluation of proposals. Ms. Montes, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Rob. We did not receive any written comments for item 8. And I do not see any hands raised at the moment for this item.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will now close the public comment for item 8, and I will now call on each commissioner for questions, comments, or concerns. Commissioner Draper.
Yes, Rob, when you talked with Pacifica, what did they want to achieve for the on-site physical posting? What was there a reason why they wanted to add that, or maybe you could just fill us in?
Certainly. My speculation is that the comment letter came from the planning department. And it is very common in the planning world when projects are occurring to post notice at the site. So I think it was just, they were seeing it as another opportunity to provide a way for members of the public to be able to be notified and again, understanding of what the proposal is. And it's more applicable at a site development where there's maybe a new house or a tree was being removed. In the planning world, as you know, Commissioner Draper, if it was a general plan update and it was citywide, they would not post notice at any physical location other than the meeting room. And that's, in lots of cases, that is the situation that LAFCo proposals are in. They're very large areas or very encompassing, and where staff felt that an on-site notification may not be practical, and there are better means to address that notification and questions from the public.
Okay, that's the end of my questions. Thanks.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioner Draper. Commissioner Lohman.
No further questions.
Thank you. Commissioner O'Neill.
I have none.
Commissioner Rarbach.
No questions.
Vice Chair Slocum.
Nothing, thank you.
All right, thank you. I do not have any questions, comments, or concerns either, so I will now entertain a motion for item 8, consideration of adoption of updated procedures for the evaluation of proposals.
So move.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Commissioner Lohman and a second by Commissioner O'Neill, and we will now proceed with a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Draper?
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman?
Yes.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Yes.
Commissioner Rarbach?
Yes.
Vice Chair Slocum?
Yes.
Chair Cosgrove?
Yes, so that item passes unanimously and is so ordered. Let us now move on to item number 9, request for initiation of municipal service review for East Palo Alto Sanitary District. Staff report, please.
Yes, thank you. The commission received a staff report dated October 14th and then an addendum report dated October 20th. The addendum report included comments from Dixie Schultz and also comments and a letter from board member Dennis Scherzer from the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. And then today you received a letter from the city of East Palo Alto requesting that the commission prepare the municipal service review, and also a letter from a technical memorandum from the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. The letter from East Palo Alto Sanitary District discusses the adequacy of their system for current connections, There are concerns about the City of East Palo Alto general plan adoption and environmental review as it relates to engaging with the East Palo Alto Sanitary District, as well as other concerns. And the letter states that the MSR is not necessary at this time. And I'd like to kind of emphasize for those participating that a municipal service review is a study of an agency or a number of agencies, and it's not a proposal to dissolve or reorganize local government. It does look at overlapping service boundaries and duplication of service and provides an opportunity to look at alternative governance, but those recommendations that would be made or adopted by the commission would need to be implemented by a willing successor agency. And then for some background about East Palo Alto Sanitary District, there's a map that shows East Palo Alto is an independent sanitary district that serves the majority of East Palo Alto in a small area of Menlo Park. The district operates pursuant to Health and Safety Code and is governed by a locally elected board of directors. The map shows the boundaries of East Palo Alto Sanitary District in purple, delineated by a purple dashed line, the City of East Palo Alto territory in pink, the City of Menlo Park in green, and West Bay Sanitary District is shown with a yellow crosshatch that it might be a little difficult to see, but it's any area in green that's not within the purple boundaries and any area in pink that's not within the purple boundaries of East Palo Alto Sanitary District. The East Palo Alto Sanitary District has about 4,000, serves about 4,000 connections, and it has an agreement with the City of Palo Alto for sewage treatment. West Bay Sanitary District has about 19,000 connections and is party to the Silicon Valley Clean Water Joint Powers Agreement for sewage treatment, along with the cities of Redwood City, Belmont, and San Carlos. LAFCo implemented an MSR for the two districts in 2009 and made recommendations in several areas for both districts and identified governance alternatives of either establishing the East Palo Alto Sanitary District as a subsidiary district of the city, which is permitted because at least 70% of the land area of the district and population are located within city boundaries. The other recommendation or alternative was dissolving the district and annexing the service area of East Palo Alto Sanitary District to West Bay. At the time, West Bay Sanitary District indicated they were not interested in that alternative, and no action was taken by the city to initiate a subsidiary district proposal. Most recently, LAFCo's received 5 letters requesting, including those that I mentioned today and those that were included in the staff report, requesting initiation of a municipal service review for the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. And then you also received 2 stating that an MSR is not necessary. The commenter sites that have requested the municipal service review cite several concerns with East Palo Alto Sanitary District, including appropriate cost allocations for infrastructure upgrades, public meeting transparency, a lack of response to inquiries from project applicants. East Palo Alto provides wastewater collection and treatment for the majority of the city, and therefore the projects that the city has in their general plan, in the queue for their general plan, are affected by whether or not they can get connections from East Palo Alto Sanitary District. And this table shows the mandated areas of determination included in Government Code Section 56430. And as stated previously, the municipal service review is a tool to help the public and other agencies better understand public service governance and delivery and evaluate options for governance and more efficient service. They're prepared independently of the agencies under study and can provide a perspective, an independent perspective of the agencies. So this would be a municipal service review prepared by LAFCo or by a consultant working for LAFCo versus the agencies doing their own internal study. And in the case of utility districts, very different, I think, than resource conservation districts, the areas of determination speak directly to the issues of fiscal health and infrastructure capacity, which are the matters that are of concern in these requests for a municipal service review. I want to show you a map that was included in the packet that gives you an idea of the projects that are affected by an impasse in obtaining the sewer will serves. The projects include affordable housing, a health center, some nonprofits, and in all are part of a 1,273 proposed residential units, over 121,000 square feet of retail, over 4.5 million in office, and 25,000 of industrial. So that's the city's request is based on being able to further these projects. I do have a revised recommendation for you that was included in the addendum report. And that is that because these requests are development driven, the service review could be prepared by an outside consultant, and the cost of that could be funded by the developers. And I also want to make it clear that the service review should include all agencies that provide service in the geographic area. So that would include East Palo Alto Sanitary District, West Bay Sanitary District, and the City of East Palo Alto. So my recommendation is to comply with the request to prepare a municipal service review, but that it be conditioned upon the developers funding a study that would be prepared by a consultant. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. So I will now open the public comment period for item 9, the request for initiation of municipal service review for East Palo Alto Sanitary District. Ms. Montes, do we have any public comment?
Thank you, Chairman Cosgrove, and thank you, Martha. And as Martha mentioned, letters and comments received for item 9 are posted on our LAFCo website. And as a reminder, if you're calling by phone, you may press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. And Chair, I do see one hand raised for this item, and I will pass on to Janet Lujan.
Thank you, Angela. So like you mentioned, there is one hand raised. I see Akin. Akin, please accept this request, unmute your microphone and begin speaking. As a reminder, please state what agency or city you're calling from. Go ahead.
Good afternoon, Honorable Commissioner. My name is Akin Okupe. I'm the General Manager of East Palo Alto Sanitary District. As you can see on that map, the city of East Palo Alto have changed their general plan, and they've added new developments. These new developments will require infrastructural upgrade. I've been practicing civil engineering for 30 years. I'm a professional engineer in California as well as in Arizona, and I have a master's degree in business administration. We've evaluated their projects, and I've told them that it will require infrastructural upgrade in order not to contravene the principle of Porta Colon Act. They've requested that I transfer the cost of this upgrade to existing ratepayers. The cost of the upgrade is about $40 million. It will require a massive rate increase to be able to serve these developers. And I've requested that in accordance with industrial practice, the East Palo Alto Sanitary District is not mandated by law to charge existing customers for development projects. And I've told them that we have to evaluate the project on individual basis. Based on their impact, we'll negotiate with them, they will install the pipes, and we'll reimburse them accordingly for costs that are not related to their project. And they've come back and said, I need to raise the rates to be able to build all these projects for them. I think their request is unconstitutional. It is not right to raise the rate on existing ratepayers for development projects. The district is well managed in accordance with best management practices. I don't see any problem. You know, we don't have any spills. Everything is going on well. But developers want me to transfer the cost of development of improving infrastructures to existing ratepayers. I would like the commissions to consider this in their decision. Thank you.
Through the chair.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Yes, who's that? Who said that?
I heard that, but I didn't catch who said that either. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Thank you. I don't see any more hands raised. Oh, actually, I see 2 more hands raised. Or one, but Akin just spoke, so I leave it up to you, Chair Cosgrove, to allow him to speak one more time, or to go ahead with our second speaker, which is Larry Moody.
Through the chair, I believe there might be someone who wants to participate that is joining along with Akin.
Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead. Akin is the GM So let's go ahead and go back to Akin, please, and see why he raised his hand.
Perfect. Akin, please go ahead and speak.
Akin raised his hand for my benefit. This is Dennis Scherzer, director. And I want to thank the commission for allowing me to speak. I also want to acknowledge San Mateo County for our 81 years of cooperation, and also Supervisor Slocum. We haven't worked with him for 81 years, but for quite some time. He's our guy. This concern, what's happened, this is based on the CEQA checklist that the consultants and the city staff led the city council and the developers to believe that there was no significant impact to our sewers. And when that was found out, there was upset. They had an expectation and it led to upset. Now the sanitary district, the developer, and the city are not in agreement, and further negotiation is necessary. Now is not the time to take it out of our hands. In fact, the applicants haven't exhausted their administrative remedies, and there are significant financial options that haven't even been in the conversation. I respectfully suggest that you continue this to maybe March of next year and send us back like a judge would send litigants back to the room to negotiate, and see what we come up with by then. And that also will relieve a burden on the county's resources that need to be focused on other things, especially since this COVID problem. This is a local issue that needs more work, and it's become a political issue. With the letter that came from the city council, the 3 incumbents up for re-election approved it. So delaying it for a few months would pull the political impact out of it, and we could focus on the issue at hand. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak.
Thank you. Next, we call on Larry Moody. Larry, please accept this request, unmute your mic, and begin speaking. As a reminder, please state what agency or city you are calling from. Larry?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you, commissioners, and thank you for the work that you do. My name is Larry Moody. I'm an East Palo Alto City Council member. I speak on behalf of the East Palo Alto community, which strongly believes that our time has come to take control over our utilities as well as our development as a community. For the last 2.5 months, the East Palo Alto, our city council has formed an intergovernmental committee meeting, which included myself and Mayor Regina Wallace-Jones, to work with the sanitary district in identifying where the barriers were in terms of, one, approving some fair connection rates for our development projects, two, this idea of capacity, right, related to the treatment plant, and three, their desire to be a part of the future of East Palo Alto. We've come to realize after 8 meetings over the last 2.5, 3 months that there's no movement from the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. They almost strangled our Light Tree project, affordable housing project, and left us at the 11th hour to agree to do a connection with them that would have cost us about $6.5 million. We are a city on the move, and we need to be able to move these affordable housing projects forward, to develop our economic zone, and really to create a new level of confidence for East Palo Alto residents. I look forward to this review. I think the majority of our community needs to know what LAFCo thinks and believes about the East Palo Alto Sanitary District. Thank you for your time, and I'm looking forward for your approval of this review process. Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. I do see 2 more hands raised. Next, we'll call on Sharifa Wilson. Sharifa, please accept this request, unmute your microphone, and begin speaking. As a reminder, please state what agency or city you are calling from. Go ahead. Sharifa, can you hear?
I got it. I had to unmute. I'm sorry. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak. I'm Sharifa Wilson. I am a longtime resident of East Palo Alto, former city council member, and currently the Ravenswood School Board Board of Trustees member. I want to support Dennis Scherzer's recommendation that this be put up to March. There has been a lot of conversation and ongoing conversation between the sanitary district and the developers and the city. I think what it boils down to is who's going to pay the cost for upgrading the system. I will also acknowledge and say that while I was on the city council, we in fact did not consider and look closely at the infrastructure to figure out what ultimately would be the capacity that we could meet in this community. So part of the onus is actually on the city as well. I think again that this is a local issue that internally we can work out a plan that will benefit the whole community and not just developers. So I agree with Dennis, as I said, to have this be returned in March for consideration, but I do not support a review at this time. Thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak.
Thank you, Sharifa. Chair Cosgrove, I have Akin raise his hand one more time.
Okay, yes, let's go to Akin and see if he has another board member with him. But I do want to defer, since he is the general manager and he has been very good with he did limit his time to 2 minutes previously. So go ahead, please.
Okay. Akin, go ahead. Can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, go ahead.
Honorable Commissioner, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak again. I would like to just make a brief comment about what Council Member Larry Moody said. It is true, we've been working with them to figure out a way.
Mr. Chair, excuse me. Mr. Chair, can I have a word?
Yes.
This speaker had a chance to present his case, I think 2 times now. And respectfully, sir, you're giving him a third opportunity to rebut some public testimony from Council Member Moody. I just would ask Mr. Fox for some legal guidance on this. I certainly don't want to be shutting down public input, but in the spirit of fairness, I would ask the question. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Fox?
Sure. So under the Brown Act, you're allowed to have reasonable rules and regulations governing public comment. It's generally interpreted to mean that if you provide for public comment, that it's distributed equally amongst the public and that you don't give different amounts of speaker time to each speaker. I believe the second time that time was given to the speaker was actually for the benefit of somebody else in the room using the same Zoom connection. So I don't think that was necessarily problematic, but while it's generally accepted that each individual speaker gets only an equal amount of time, otherwise you wind up eternally getting in arguments about whether the other speakers should be given additional time as well. There is some flexibility on the part of the chair to determine whether or not a person is speaking as a member of the public or in some other capacity, which I interpreted the chair to do in this case. But to the extent that he's going to be rebutting what other speakers have said, it does create a problem in that if other speakers ask for more time to offer a counter rebuttal, it makes it somewhat awkward. So I think you're within your rights to ask what it is he's going to use his time to speak on and make a judgment then as the chair.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate you, Vice Chair Slocum, bringing that to our attention, to my attention. And yes, General Manager Akin, if it sounded like you are looking to rebut a previous speaker, and that's not that's not conducive to our meeting right now. So I'm going to move on to see if there's other members of the public that wish to speak?
Thank you, Chair. I do not see any more hands raised at this time.
Thank you. Did we have any written comments that came in?
We did get letters for this item and they are posted on our LAFCo website.
So nothing other than what was posted.
Right.
All right, thank you very much. So now we'll move on to, I'll close the public comment period for item 9, and I'm going to move on to questions, comments, and concerns from the commissioners. And we're going alphabetically, so Commissioner Draper.
Thank you. I am, I don't know if concern is the right word, but I observed that it appears that the district and the city, back when the general plan amendments were done, didn't communicate really well. And one of the speakers, Sharifa, said, yes, that probably happened. I also participated in the one of the council candidate forums for the East Palo Alto City Council. And I really learned about the future aspiration of those candidates for growth. And so some of them appear to need additional general plan amendments, and some probably don't need a general plan amendment. But it's still like adding accessory dwelling units in backyards or side yards. And so it appears that there are visions, goals, and aspirations of the city council about growth and development that haven't been accommodated maybe in this special district's plans. And I do see a real need that they need to get together and really understand not only what has happened, but what's anticipated in the future, because it really should be a smooth interaction between the two. And so that's really where I am right now. But I'm gonna hold, as I hear other commissioners, I may have other comments, but I really am not concerned, but acknowledge that these two agencies really need to get together and quickly for the benefit for all parties. That's the end of that set of comments. I may come back.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Draper. Commissioner Lohman.
Yes, I had some comments prepared that were, I would say, fairly in alignment with the first two speakers representing the district. We have a lot of large developments that have been proposed on the coast here also, as always. As far as I know, pretty much in every single case, and I've been on the sewer and water districts, the development is required to pay for all sewer enhancements, water enhancements, pipe enhancements, everything that's going to require to augment the sanitary system is paid by the developers. That doesn't seem to be the case, and it seems like the developers were saying no, that $40 million should be paid by the current residents and current clients of the sanitary district. I don't think that's fair. We've had several proposals on the coast for similar things, and we've proposed things like taking out large loans that would pay for the project, but push costs onto the future of the people who would actually use these enhancements. So the request to move this up and rush this through almost, and trying to get through the letters really quickly, seems to almost be trying to punish the sanitary district. You didn't agree with us, so we're bringing in West Bay Sanitary. We're either going to merge you with them, or we're going to dissolve you and take you over because you won't get along with us. Those were very concerning comments to me. And I believe if we try to rush this and move it forward, that pushes somebody else out who's getting scheduled for MSRs. And I agree with the other comments that I don't think LAFCo and us in specific should be voting on who's going to win this contest. I would much, much rather see the districts and the developers and the city get together, as several people have proposed here, come up with an agreement, that spreads the cost out, doesn't stick current residents with $40 million of cost. That's a lot of money. And work out a deal of loans, grants, whatever they can do. So I agree with, I don't see the point in rushing this through right now. So when we get around to voting on a proposal, we can discuss that more. So those are my comments.
Thank you, Commissioner. Let's move on to Commissioner O'Neill.
I also, read the staff report and just see that things aren't, there's a lot of unhappy campers in East Palo Alto about this situation. Okay, and I think it would be good to have a municipal service review just for simple that there'll be a common, impartial analysis of what the issue is. And as far as I would assume, the ratepayers for the special district are also the taxpayers and residents of the city of East Palo Alto for the most part. And I think that I think the municipal service review will give a common basis to have a, for a starting point for some decisions to be made, whatever way. Okay, independent, continuing the present structure, merging, whatever the decision would be from the municipal service review. But if I think the municipal service review should move forward. If you want to delay it to give a last best chance for the two entities to come to an agreement, but March is a good, 5 months away. Construction costs could rise given the state of the economy. These opportunities, especially for affordable housing, might disappear with budget cuts from the state and federal governments. So I think, waiting till March is an opportunity that there might be a lot less affordable housing if they can't come to an agreement. I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. Commissioner Rarbach.
I also think that an MSR is appropriate now. I am concerned that development occur in a sustainable way. I think the staff report and staff recommendation makes sense. So I would go ahead with the staff recommendation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Vice Chair Slocum.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I was talking away and I was muted. I'm sorry. Just a couple of questions, if I could, Mr. Chair. I'm curious about if the sanitary district ever had a municipal service review in the past, or if the other district, West Bay, had.
Through the chair, yes, there was a municipal service review prepared on both West Bay and East Palo Alto Sanitary District in 2006.
2006, thank you. And I didn't, Director, I didn't quite understand the logic of waiting till March. I'm guessing it's something to do with the city council election and the new council members being seated and all of that, but I wasn't sure. Could you clarify that?
I believe that came from a board member, and he does not have the ability to clarify that, Vice Chair.
I see. Okay. I don't know. I am in alignment with the last two commissioners who spoke. I think that I strongly support going ahead with the municipal service review. I don't quite understand the logic, but Martha did touch on it, of including the city. And maybe Martha, you could amplify that for me. But I think the things that Commissioner O'Neill said about a common starting point and a common understanding and impartial analysis and viewing this as a starting point is sort of the right way to think about it. And I don't know don't understand what harm it would do to begin, because frankly, we're moving into the holiday season and so forth and so on. But I would like to hear the answer, Martha, if there is one.
Yes, sir. Through the chair, the part of the reason to do municipal service review on all three agencies is that they share a common territory, and the Act, the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act, does direct that the municipal service review should include all the areas, all the agencies that provide the municipal service to the geographic area. And it would also, if a municipal service review is going to look at the ability to of a successor agency to take on service, you would want to know the fiscal health of those potential successor agencies, which would be West Bay Sanitary District and East Palo Alto Sanitary.
I got you. Yeah,
Pardon me.
Thank you. Yeah, I appreciate that. Mr. Chair, I don't have any other questions. As I say, I'm going to support the recommendation of the staff and strongly do so. Thank you for the opportunity.
All right, thank you, Vice Chair. I have a couple of comments. One of the things that was important to me, and I think was important for the commission, was setting that work plan in place for this fiscal year. And I hesitate to interrupt that work plan with another municipal service review. I have, in my background, my day job, I work in the water and wastewater industry, and I'm very, very familiar with what the sanitary district is saying. All I have is the information that's been presented as part of this meeting, this item. But it is very true that when you have projects, you have developments, it is standard practice to take the additional flow that those developments are going to add onto the existing system to hydraulically model that. It is standard practice to have registered engineers review that. In this case, I believe that you had Frere and Loretta, it said, which is a well-known engineering firm, perform this work, and they're saying that upgrades are required. And in my experience, that is put on, at least to some level, there is usually a negotiation put on some level on the developments. So I am understand that from the district. But just to go to my original point, I believe that the work plan we put in place was important for this commission, and I would like to stick to it. And as we get through those municipal service reviews, then of course I would support the recommended action with these agencies that are before us. So those are my comments, and I believe that there were commissioners that possibly would want to make further comments or have questions. But before we do that, I will entertain a motion for item 9. We can still take questions and comments after that, but I'm going to entertain a motion.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Vice Chair Slocum here. Let me see if I can get this right. Would like to make a motion to initiate a municipal service review for East Palo Alto Sanitary District, as well as including the, oh my, it slips my mind, the other district as well as the city in that review. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll second that.
Okay, Commissioner Rarb. So we have a motion by Vice Chair Slocum and a second by Commissioner Rarback. Now I know there were some questions that's on the floor. I think I saw Commissioner Lohman's hand being raised. Yes, Commissioner Lohman.
Sure, a couple of things. First, on something completely different. We're involved in a lawsuit out here on the coast also, and which is not relevant, but part of any lawsuit is before a judge just makes a call, they say, you folks go out and mediate. Go out and mediate, try to solve all your own problems. I had a personal problem with a Landlord are the same thing. Judge doesn't want to hear you until you've had a chance to try to work it out among yourselves. A while ago, we had the Harbor District out here, which was proposed to be dissolved or taken up by the county because they had some financial problems and political problems. We, the commissioners at that point, said, well, looks like you've got a plan to do something and check all this out and try to do better. So we gave them like 6 months. And lo and behold, after 6 months, they had stabilized their board, stabilized their finances. And at the time we said, hey, go for it. We don't need to get involved right now. I think we had something similar for the mosquito and vector district. Again, proposed, they had financial issues. Proposal was to, whoa, county should take that over. Again, we said, see what you can work out, and it was worked out. This has happened before. I'm not proposing that we don't do an MSR. MSRs are good and they're informative and they're helpful. I just wouldn't want to launch an MSR when agencies are still fighting. I don't want to, my hope would be that they could work out a better plan and then we do an MSR in March that checks everything in our MSR and also moves forward. So again, I think MSRs are really good. I want to propose that, but I don't think we should push other people out of the way, as Josh said, because we had a plan. And now the city and the developers want to run this through as fast as they can, it appears, and try to take over and do it their way. So I think mediation's a good thing. And I think they might be able to come up with some solutions. And if they have a solution, pulling that into the MSR makes the whole thing easier in the future. So that's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Draper.
I have a question for the maker and seconder of the motion. Did the motion include that the developer would pay for this? That's my first question. That was part of what staff recommendation, but I didn't hear it in your motion.
Yes, my motion was to follow the staff recommendation for both districts of the city and the developer portion.
Okay. And then I'm assuming that you're thinking about initiating it now, but now with a caveat in terms of receipt of the funding before it really gets going. And is that an accurate assumption that although it would start now, staff wouldn't really work until there was money in hand, so to speak, to actually initiate it? Is that an accurate assumption?
Well, I would defer to the director. Thank you.
Through the chair, if there were authorization to issue a request for proposals, that we would begin that part of it. And it would be conditioned upon funds being, the commission authorizing that the actual proposal, whoever is chosen, would be conditioned upon, or actually the RFP would be conditioned upon putting funds forward.
Thank you.
And so I would ask the maker of the motion, the creation of a request for a proposal is time consuming and takes effort, and that too should be covered by the developers. And so it might be something that the payment is in 2 phases. One is to develop the request for a proposal, and the other is to execute it. And so would the maker of the motion be, and the second, be agreeable to having such of a 2-step type of payment by the development community?
Thank you, Commissioner Draper. Yes, I'm good with the 2-step proposal. I like the 2-step idea. Thank you for bringing it forward.
Those are my questions. I do have some comments when we get to that point. If we're at that point, I'll make them now.
Okay, I don't see any other hands raised. We have the motion, the second. So if you want to provide those additional, Commissioner O'Neill just raised his hand.
Yeah, just as kind of a follow-up with Commissioner Draper, or a question for staff, is what is the time you would expect if the commission gives, you know, authorization to move forward today? How long do you think it would be before you would actually start an MSR? Like a month, 6 weeks, something like that?
I would say that it would be about 6 to 8 weeks to have an MSR issued, and well, depending also on the commission's every other month schedule, because the commission would have to authorize whoever is chosen. So it would be probably, you know, 8 to 12 weeks, depending on your meeting cycle and how quickly we can get a municipal service review RFP out, and then the responses, and then awarding it. So the real staff work would be, as Commissioner Draper noted, in the preparation of the request for proposals. And then once we receive an administrative draft, which is typically about 2 months after you've awarded the contract.
Okay, so just throwing this out for discussion, that, I mean, I hear what the Commissioner Lohman and Cosgrove said about, you know, forcing something on them, but I don't think we should wait till March. Maybe something like, if the parties come to an agreement prior to the RFP being issued, then that's fine. We stop the process. So that gives them a couple months per the director that they could come to an agreement. If they don't come to an agreement, then we go ahead with the MSR, pending the funding sources, etc. I'm just throwing that trial balloon out.
Through the chair, that was sort of my thought, was that it takes a while to get the request for proposals together. And one of the first steps in doing that, I would say, is fostering a conversation between the city and the district, because there appears to be some kind of communication gap there. And I don't know what it is, but it would benefit to be able to have that conversation. And all of that will take some time before that request for proposal can be put together, so that the questions and what's requested are honed into this particular set of issues. And because of that fostering of conversation, it's possible that a solution could be found, or a pathway forward could be found, because we have an action too, which is a further second step action, which is to authorize the request for proposal to go out. And so we do have another option to make another point in time to make a decision as well. So there's the initiation, and then there's the actual issuance of the request. And so that's what I was sort of hoping, is that we'd learn more in this initial phase.
I apologize. I don't know. I just didn't quite catch it. Like, I just was looking to make it more formal in the motion that, you know, you do this. If you do this within the next couple months, you kind of, you know, move on. But no, I agree with what Commissioner Draper said. So I don't know if the, you know, the maker and the second are open to that amendment to the motion, or what, or other comments. I'm done.
Vice Chair Slocum, as the motion person, did you want to address the comments that were just made?
Excuse me, Chair.
Yes.
Excuse me. I just want to make a comment that public comment for this item is closed, and I do see a hand raised from somebody from the public, but I just wanted to acknowledge that and let them know that public comment session has closed for this item.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you, Mr. Chair. Honestly, I'm a little confused now on how to straighten the motion out, but maybe I could get some help from Commissioner Draper or Commissioner O'Neill. I'm in supportive of what they both said. I'm just not sure how to craft that into a motion.
Yeah, I understand. And let me just respond myself. I am supportive of the MSR and development of an RFP for an MSR for these agencies after we complete the work plan that was already presented. So that's where I'm at. And I'll leave that at that for right now. But I saw Commissioner O'Neill, you raised.
I was just responding to Commissioner Slocum, and correct me if I'm wrong with Commissioner Draper, but just basically support staff recommendation that the commission authorize a request for proposals for an MSR for East Palo Alto City Sanitary District and WSD, but allow up to when the LAFCo meets again to approve the MSR, they encourage them to come to an agreement. If not, the MSR is done. And according to Martha, that would be about 2 months lag time anyhow. So basically it's encouraging them to come to their own agreement outside, but an MSR will be issued in 2 months when we approve it.
Yes, that was, what you said is what I was trying to say.
Thank you. So, Mr. Chair, I'll amend the motion to include everything that Commissioner O'Neill just said and Commissioner Draper seemed to second.
Okay.
I think Commissioner Rohrback has to, he seconded it, so he has to agree.
Yeah. Okay.
I accept that amendment. Not a problem.
Okay, I'm getting ready to call for the vote. So one last chance. And I see no hands. Okay. We have a motion by Commissioner Slocum and a second by Commissioner Rohrback. We will now proceed with the roll call vote. Roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Draper?
Yes.
Commissioner Rohrback?
Yes.
Commissioner Lohman?
No.
Commissioner O'Neill?
Yes.
Vice Chair Slocum?
You're on mute, Vice Chair Slocum.
Sorry, everybody. That was a yes.
Thank you.
Chair Cosgrove?
No. Can you please tell me the count?
We have a 4 yes, 2 no.
Okay, thank you. So that item passes 4-2 and is so ordered. With that, we will now move on to item number 10, Legislative and Policy Committee. It's an information only item. Staff report, please.
Thank you, Chair. In your agenda packet, you have received a written report dated October 14th. LAFCo is currently tracking 11 bills, most of which have not moved forward at the end of the legislative year back on August 31st. One such bill that did not move forward was SB 414. You recall that was a bill which would have allowed the State Water Resource Control Board to form, dissolve, or consolidate failing water systems that have either less than 3,000 service connections or their number of customers. LAFCo and San Mateo LAFCo both sent opposition to the bill's author and to the Assembly Appropriations Committee. And as I had mentioned, SB 414 did not move out of committee this year. However, LAFCo anticipates that a similar bill will be introduced in the next legislative year, as a number of bills this year were focused on COVID and the state's budget. Reports from the Senate and Assembly of Legislation that was signed into law is anticipated to be completed by the end of the year. And when those reports are done, they will be shared with the commission. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll now open public comment for item 10. Ms. Montez, do we have any public comment for this item?
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Rob. We did not receive any written comment for item 10. And as a reminder, if you're calling by phone, you can press *9 to indicate your desire to speak. But at the moment, Chair, we do not have any hands raised.
Okay, thank you very much. So now I will close the public comment period for item 10, and I will go to each of the commissioners for questions, comments, or concerns. Commissioner Draper.
I have none. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lohman.
A quick question for Rob on the water district consolidation bill you mentioned. Who is the current sponsor of that bill again?
I believe it was Senator Caballo. But again, that bill has not passed. It is likely that that bill comes back though in some kind of form.
So it's probable that there'll be different types of supporters and when
different
it comes around again.
And potentially different language in that legislation as well. Yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, Commissioner O'Neill?
None.
Thank you. Commissioner Rarbach?
I'm okay.
All right, Vice Chair Slocum?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. On behalf of my colleague, the very esteemed Supervisor Horsley, I would like to thank the Director, Martha, for the inclusion of the 2019 San Mateo County crop report. It was interesting reading the first time, but the second time it got even better. Thank you.
All right. And I do not have any comments on item number 10. That was information only. Thank you. And we'll now move on to item number 11, Commissioner Staff Reports. And item 11A is that crop report, 2019 San Mateo County crop report. It's also information only. Staff, do we have a staff report?
No, we don't. It was just for information. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Do we have any reports from the commission? Any commissioners?
Nope.
Nope.
No. Okay.
No.
Thank you very much. So with that, we'll move on to item 12, which is our adjournment at 4:30 p.m. And our next regular commission meeting is scheduled for November 18th, 2020. Thank you, everyone. Hope you all have a great—
Josh?
Oh, yes.
No, just wanted to say that this meeting was forecast to be 2 hours and prepare for that. And you nailed it down to the second.
Yes.
Congratulations, Martha. Yeah. All right.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Have a good one, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.